All right, guys, today is June the 27th, 2023, and we are finally 2.5 years into this project of having citrus trees growing in a high tunnel. Just a little recap of what's going on. We got a 30 feet wide by 100 feet long by 20 foot in the middle, and we have 3 rows of citrus in here. We'll kind of go through them to see exactly what's going on with them, how they're growing, and what to expect. This year, actually 2022, at the end in December, we had a freak freeze of 9 degrees with a wind chill of 0. So I put heaters in here, and because I just didn't want to chance it. And I put them down, one down this row, and then another one down this row, and we had a lot of people staying over during that time. And what happened was that with all the people staying over and with all the electric connected over here, we had a little flicker in the electricity. I had propane heaters that were connected to electric, which I usually don't do, but I thought I would try it out. Well, that little flicker turned off those propane heaters, and when it turned off the propane heaters, literally a lot of these lemons and limes that we have down this row, they just literally went close to being almost back to the stump. I'll kind of go over that whenever we come to this side. But as usual, we'll go ahead and start off with this side. And we currently have the Okitsu Satsuma, who has grown actually very vigorous, strong, not messing around this year. We're actually going to try some fruit on it later this year, because I've been wanting to try fruit, but we'll see how it goes with it. But it looks great right now, can't complain. We have a Sheishan, which we took off all the fruit because we had too much fruit on it. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the past year, especially when I talk to some serious growers of some Satsumas, is that you can get a lot of puffy fruit within the first 4 years just because of immaturity of the plant. A lot of times the plant just has to get mature. Usually by year 4, that puffiness goes away. So a lot of these Satsumas were kind of puffy. What I mean by that is the skin was puffy, the fruit was kind of puffy. It wasn't kind of like those smaller Satsumas that you would get at the store. So after talking with them, knowing that I'm not doing anything wrong, it's just the tree. So they're 2.5 years old. Give them another year and a half, and that should fix the problem. But we'll see. We got a Miigwa Satsuma. We tried to take off all the fruit, but I think there's a little bit of fruit still down here, and pretty much everywhere. But it's growing big, strong, vigorous. Again, we'll kind of monitor the fruit to see how well it does during this time. Well, I thought my honey mandarin was the king of all kings until this bumper crop Satsuma just took over. And let me show you. Look at that. That is just ridiculous. It is fruit for days, and this is just one branch. Also something that you don't really want to see, but you do want to see it. So I wanted to take off all the fruit this year, but I ran into a little bit of an issue that will be coming up soon. I built another high tunnel over here with figs, but this sucker is just stacked with so much fruit. And I mean, it just keeps on going on and on and on and on and on, all throughout the tree. I'm guessing probably maybe 150 fruit on this tree just alone, and it's 2.5 years old. My goal was to try to get these to 3 to 4 years old without a lot of fruit, but again, I kind of ran out of time this year. I still probably will have to go ahead and thin out some of this tree, just so I can maybe get some decent fruit off of it. But this this Satsuma might be the king of all kings this year. So we got the Miho Satsuma, who's getting clobbered by the bumper crop and is doing okay. It's got some fruit on it. Not too much. Tried to pick off as much as I could this year on that. We got the Sito, which is doing excellent right now. And we have quite a bit of fruit, maybe 30 fruit on it. There's some of the remnants of us taking off a lot of the fruit this year. And over here we have the, I always forget this one. That one's a Clementine Knolls. I forgot what this one is, but it's the smallest, well, no. It is actually probably my smallest tree. I probably took about 100 fruit off of it, and I'm sorry, about 50 to 75 fruit on it. And man, these suckers just keep on coming. So I need to take off some more fruit on this tree. It's actually, I count it as one of my most delicious trees that I have when I do get the fruit on it. But yeah, it just does not want to grow that well. I think it's just because it has too much fruit and it wants to keep on producing a lot of fruit, but that's not what we're in for, at least for the next year or two. So I got to take them off. You can see even baby fruit developing, but the Clementine Knolls right here, man, it just has finally come through. It finally wanted to grow, and it is just stacked with tons and tons of fruit galore. So we'll probably still need to thin it out because, again, we want it to grow big and strong, like this guy. Big old Algerian Clementine, looks good, looks big, vigorous. And one of the reasons why is because we only have like maybe 4 or 5 fruit on it. It's already a fairly big fruit, even for the amount that we have on it, but it is big, strong, tall, vigorous. Clementines in general, you just can't go wrong with them, at least here at this property. Over here we got the Ori Satsuma. It's doing good. It's got a couple fruit on it, not too many. I try to pick off what I could. Got another Ori that looks really good. Recovering still from our previous freezes, but yeah, it's doing good right here. Can't complain with it. Over here we got the Brown Select Satsuma, also doing good. It's still got some fruit on it from time to time. Also down here too as well. So fruit are kind of sparsed out. Okay guys, we had to stop off yesterday because it got so hot in here that my phone turned off on me. But that's okay. We have right here our Brown Select Satsuma, doing very, very well. It's got quite a bit on it. Kind of like with what I was saying about the puffiness of the fruit. We will see if that happens this year. But it's pretty loaded this year. So again, to some really top growers that I talked to all throughout the country, it takes about 4 years for it to get to maturity. We're about 2.5 years into this. We got another 1.5 years to go, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Right here, this guy just really came, and he's wanted to dominate like that bumper crop Satsuma. But this one right here is our, I think, yeah, Arctic Frost. Let me just take another look. Oh, I'm sorry, Orange Frost Satsuma. Doing excellent, and I mean excellent. I'll just pan out so you can see the whole tree. But it is doing so good. It's got fruit everywhere throughout it. Kind of reminds me of the Arctic Frost right next to it last year. Just fruit galore. I'd say probably maybe 75 to 100 fruit on this tree. And then there's a lot in the back too as well. But I think the Orange Frost and the Arctic Frost have done so well, maybe because they are a hybrid compared to the other Satsumas. And what I mean by that, the fruit quality. The fruit quality on both of these trees have been excellent compared to the Satsumas that I have over here. Again, I think it's just because it's on hybrid overall, but just a really good tree. Looks good too as well. Pumps out tons of fruit. We'll get to try it probably by about October, if not November of this year. And then my beauty from last year ran into a little bit of trouble this year, and reason being is because I usually have a lot of plants that I'll go ahead and kind of put back here, but I decided to go ahead and put them on the bricks and kind of surround this tree. So it ended up dealing with a lot of aphids this year. Had to pull off all those leaves, clean it all up, and we're back to rolling and rocking again, which is good. I think we just have like a couple fruit on it this year compared to last year was about 40 or 50 fruit, but that's okay. It's taking a rest here, and our other guy right here, our Orange Frost, will basically be doing all the work for this guy. So we'll be moving on to our next gigantic trees. You can see them. We have our Pakistani, purple Pakistani, and then our gigantic white Pakistani mulberry. Some people call it King Shatut, green Shatut, Australian green. They got all sorts of names for it, but I bought it under white Pakistani. These guys right here have done excellent when it comes to growing. They are so tall, so big, so vigorous. Now, something that I ended up learning this past year is that, and I called the specific grower from, who was it? Not Ellie Cook, Dave Wilson. I called Dave Wilson Nursery, and I told him, hey, some of my fruit trees, specifically my white Pakistani, are not fruiting like I want them to. You know, what's the deal with it? Is it lab growing? Is it something else that I don't know of? And he told me specifically on all their rootstocks, they have a Russian rootstock. From there, they graft on a white Pakistani, mulberry, or purple Pakistani, and then from there they should be good. Now, my deal was that I was always cutting these back to about like right here every season, and that's what I did this year. So they were like super short up to right here, and then this is all their new growth from this year, starting in March. Now, what he was saying is to go ahead and leave all of this growth. Don't cut it back, even though I do cut back the sides, but don't cut back any of this other stuff. This is all the fruiting wood going into next year, so I will not cut all of this stuff out. It will probably be gigantic, touching the ceiling, but hopefully coming up this March and April of 2024, we get a lot of fruit, since we're leaving all the we're leaving all this wood right here this season. But I'll show you how big and vigorous these guys are. Just gigantic. I can't even get to the other side of it, but it's a huge tree. This is the purple Pakistani. This is the white, the king of all kings. And it is, again, I'm not a small guy, but this makes me look really small. Humongous tree right here. Highly advised for anybody to get it if you can kind of baby these a little bit. Now, I have put Pakistanis outside before, but we usually get to the single digits over here and they always die back. But they come back eventually. But I don't want to be messing around with that every single year, especially if we don't get any fruit off of it. Right here, always consistent all the time, the lips and lemon. We decided to leave a lot of fruit on it this year. And so we got quite a bit of fruit all throughout the tree, growing and growing. But it's a good variety. It's tall, it's vigorous. It's done excellent for us. Highly advised for anybody to get it if you have the room. So over here, our Rio Red. And man, again, this year produced probably over 100 grapefruit on this small tree. Well, I guess it's not that small anymore, but to me it's kind of small right now. And I tried to take off as much as I could, but sometimes that could be a little bit difficult. So I tried to leave some of these ones that are in the inside part versus the outside, but some of them escaped me. So we have kind of fruit everywhere. It's a big, tall, vigorous tree. I still probably got to prune some back, like some of this stuff that's right here, just so it doesn't weigh down the tree. I still want another year or so of the tree to get big, strong, and to be able to hold up all this weight of a grapefruit. Again, another Rio Red. I took off probably about 50 to 75 grapefruit already on it, and some of them got away from me. As you can see, I still need to take off a couple more, especially the stuff that's kind of on the outside, not necessarily the inside, but the outside of the plant, so they can get big, tall, strong as well. They are big grapefruits. Very big. Only 2.5 years old. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so those are the Rio. Here's the Ruby Red. So again, kind of the same trouble. Took off about maybe 50 to 75 fruit. I still have a lot of fruit still left on it. I need to actually take off more. It's a good problem to have, but then it, of course, it weighs down the tree, and these aren't even close to being close to the final size of what they're going to look like. But Yeah, we still got to take off some more. I only want about maybe 5 to 10 fruit on these trees, at least this year, and then maybe next year I'll stop taking off some of the fruit and maybe not thin it out as much. But it is a tall, big tree, and it is either tied with, actually it might be tied with the lips and lemon over there. There it is to the top, but I'm not sure. This year our Bloom Sweet is giving us some nice, beautiful grapefruit. I tried to take off as many as I could. It's been going pretty well. I think we only left about 10 of them on there, and we might even take off a couple more just in case. Again, it was one of our shyer growers compared to our other grapefruits that we have over here. As you can see, pretty big compared to this guy. But it's growing now. Looks good, big and strong, and we got to keep the train rolling on that guy. This guy, always the usual, always, all the time, the Hamlin La Sweet. It probably had like 50 to 75 fruit on it, and myself and my kids, we just kept on taking it off, and finally, I think we took off, oh no, never mind, there's one. I thought we took off everything, but it just keeps on flowering and flowering all throughout the season, especially with the shade cloth. So I do put a shade cloth on this during this season, not only for conservation of water, because farming's already hard, but it becomes harder whenever you're having to water even more. But then also, so these trees can go ahead and continue to grow. So what I figured over the past several years of doing this is that trees tend to stop growing once it gets about 100 to 105. There's a select few, like the Pakistani mulberries, that continue to grow. But some of the citrus, also my figs over there, and a couple other trees that I have, they just kind of stop, and basically it's just survival mode. And when you're just trying to survive, it's fine, but we're in it for fruit production, so we want to get these trees to be as big and strong as possible. So we got a 50% shade cloth. It lets in enough light, not too much like damaging light, but then still lets in plenty to go ahead and have growth, and then also to get these fruit to maturity as well. But we took off most of them except for one that got away from me. It's doing much better than it has before. We will continue to take off fruit for the next at least year or two. This one right here has been ridiculous. Probably ridiculous from the start. So, and I'll go ahead and kind of show you. It just kind of keeps on going and going and going and going, and it's just like non-stop fruit on this guy. This is the Mars orange, and ever since the beginning it's always grown very well, very vigorous, produces a ton of fruit as well, and it's just kind of non-stop, and it just, again, it keeps on going. It maybe 50 fruit on this tree this year. Not exactly what we want, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll thin off a little bit of it. This tree right here, one of my favorites, is a N33. This one has actually been doing quite well. It's got some fruit on it. I'd say maybe 25 fruit on it, maybe a little bit more, give or take. But overall, recovering from our first year where we had a lot of grasshoppers that just ate this tree alive. So it's doing quite well right now, trying to catch it up to that guy. Now, one of my more beautiful trees, it's gotten a little bit out of control because we actually had several birds living in here. And that's one of the things, even though it's in this tunnel, it's still like a paradise for a lot of birds. But yeah, I need to actually clip this back a little bit and continue to train it to go up. It's probably tied with our, I think our ruby red, and then our lips and lemon as being some of the biggest and tallest. But still a beautiful tree, no issues with it. It's got a lot of fruit on it. You can see some right there. They're kind of everywhere throughout the tree. There's probably got to be maybe 20, 30 fruit on it. There's some right there, some right there. There's a bird's nest right there. They finally flew away, so now I can kind of chop this back a little bit. But it looks good. It's extremely vigorous, extremely strong, gigantic trunks on these suckers. I don't even know if I can. I could almost wrap my hand around it, but not anymore. Not anymore. Right here, the Valencia Road Red looks excellent. I finally chopped off all this stuff right here at the bottom. And it's actually wanting to do what I want it to do, is grow up. And you can kind of see right here a lot of new leaves growing, which is excellent. It is producing quite a bit, but I'm probably going to go ahead and kind of actually thin this out just a little bit more, just because I don't want there to be heavy fruit and weigh this sucker down. Again, we're trying to get these guys to maturity, get them strong, bigger, specifically the limbs. Kind of like this. This is something that you don't want to see. It was so vigorous at being in fruit production that it's just weighing it down. This is something that I do not want to see, so I'm probably going to take this out. And just like some of my other trees, I'm going to go ahead and put a T-post here and here, basically all the way down the rows, and then we're going to go ahead and string them up to where we have a nice clean row that we can go ahead and walk down. I will be doing that probably next time you see this, coming up in December or November. It just kind of depends, but we'll be doing that pretty shortly. One of my favorites that I love, the red navel, doing quite well. Here is that variegated rootstock on it, and I think, well, I thought we had some fruit on it, but I'm not currently seeing it right now. Oh, wait, nope, that's the other fruit. Oh, yes, okay, we do have some fruit on it, so we'll be able to taste this variegated rootstock. If it tastes good, good, then we'll keep it. If it doesn't, we'll see what happens. Might be on the chopping block. But one of my favorites, probably second favorite, only compared to my Suma oranges that I have, is my red navel. It's excellent, produces a lot. It's pretty much non-stop production, doing quite well with this tree. Also the other red navel, doing very, very good. No issues at all with it. Both vigorous. Now this one got knocked back a little bit from our 9-degree night that we had. We had a couple of nights of 9 degrees, wind chill of 0, and this one got knocked back a little bit, so it's not as big as the other one, but it's still fairly big. But it even did well with that. Now I still have quite a bit of production down here too as well, so it just kind of keeps on going around the tree and around and around, and it looks good. I can't complain, especially after getting knocked back a little bit. Now with that 9-degree night, on the outsides of the tunnel right here, it's definitely colder, so just something to note. Now we had, like I was saying before, we had the propane tanks. I decided to do an electric propane tank just to see how it would do. And the one night that I used it, we ended up having a lot of people over. We had a little break in the electric, and when that happened, we had that flicker in the house. Didn't think anything of it to come and check this out because it was 9 degrees. I didn't feel like going outside. And when I didn't, it cut off the power to those propane heaters. A good and a bad thing. The good, I got to see what would be able to survive at 9 degrees. The bad, well, we got a lot of knockback, a lot of stuff that got knocked back from those 9 degrees, and we'll show you what it looks like. And I might even post up a picture so you can see also what it looked like from before, back in January, all the way up until now. The good thing that I always figured, especially from our 2021 super freeze that we had, where we got down to -7 over here, is that I got to see, as long as you have a big enough trunk or a decent sized trunk or protect the trunk, these will grow back. Kind of like with what you're seeing right here. And this completely grew back. So this is the New Zealand lemonade. No fruit on it, still growing, even if it's 105 outside currently right now. But with the shade cover, it feels even better. But it looks good, strong, vigorous. All of it's growing from above the graft right there. So it looks very, very good. This is probably the most surprising. So these two got knocked back quite a bit, but probably only to the outsides, not even the middle part, which is very interesting to see off of the Meyer lemons. This one probably, or actually this one got knocked back the most. This one did not, but they both have fruit, don't get me wrong, but this one just has tons of fruit, even though it got knocked back really, really bad. And it's just got fruit galore on it. And I'll go ahead and kind of pan out so you can see all the fruit, but it's just fruit and fruit and fruit and more fruit, and it just keeps on going all the way around the tree. This one has fruit, but again, not as much as this one, which is kind of crazy. Even though this one got knocked back really badly, this one not so bad. So don't know why. We're still going to get lots of lemons this year. Meyer lemon, highly encouraged for anybody to get it, and they sell it everywhere. Super cheap. Produces delicious lemons. Highly encourage people to get it, and now very, I think, cold hardy, even at the 9-degree mark. So yeah, if you're living in a colder area, you want to put some Christmas lights around it, put it outside of your house, get it to survive. As long as it has some type of cover over it, I think they should be fine. Especially like this is a prime time example of no heat, and it did very, very well overall, and producing too as well. So this one, my variegated lemon, got knocked back really, really bad, all the way back to right here. So it got knocked back right there. It's completely bare. This is what 6 months of growth looks like on it. Big, strong, vigorous. The variegation, more so of a yellow leaf. As you can see, some of these other ones doing very, very well after getting knocked back. Now this one very sensitive to the cold. Not as sensitive as like the Persian limes, but still very sensitive. Can be sensitive, but will come back as long as we have a strong, healthy root system. And then on top of that, we also have good growth from the beginning of the season. Right here is a Eureka Frost. Also got knocked back, even though its name is Eureka Frost. It was probably looked a lot worse than my Meyer lemons. So man, the Meyer lemons are very cold hardy. This, even though it's a Eureka Frost and it's supposed to get down to in the 20s, maybe in the teens, and not do too bad, it didn't. And man, it got knocked back really bad. But then because we had that kind of strong root system, a strong stump to it, it came back probably even more vigorous than it was before. A couple of lemons on it, but nothing too big to talk about at this particular point. Hopefully I won't make that same mistake again, and we'll be able to rock and roll with it this coming up year. Now over here we have our Pixie Mandarin, and again it's producing quite a bit. It's growing quite well. We're excited about it, and yeah, we'll be tying this one back kind of like some other ones I'll show you in just a second. We got our Kishu, and man, this sucker, after our first year where it was like, it looked like it was diseased, it looked like it was not gonna make it, cut it back completely, and then boom, it is just pumping. And I mean pumping. Tons and tons of citrus this year, which is kind of crazy. I might thin it out just a little bit, but these are super small. They shouldn't grow too big, and I think we should be fine this year. But man, it has just come through, and it is ready to rock and roll this year. I guess I forgot last year about doing a taste test video. Hopefully I'll do one this year. but my big thing last year was trying to get my other high tunnel set up. And so last year was a difficult year, even this year, up until just recently. I finally got it all taken care of. But we'll probably try to do a taste test video on that, along with the good old Clementine. And man, one of the kings around here, it just pumps out citrus. And I mean tons and tons of citrus. There's got to be probably over 100 fruit on this tree. You can see right here, as I'm trying to tie it back with that method that I was telling you about with the T-post. Getting the T-post down, And we'll go ahead and tie it up some more too as well, but it just pumps out tons and tons. Also, didn't take a single hit off of that 9-degree temperature that we had. Like nothing ever happened to it. It was crazy. So excited about it, including all these other clementines. I'm telling you, man, the clementines, boy, if I was gonna start up an orchard where I was in a region where it was like super cold, this would probably be one of my number ones to go to. It's just because of the production. They're strong, they're vigorous, they could take the heat, they could take the cold. They just don't want to get beat up at all, which is nice. Right here, also doing the same exact thing is the pumpkin. Just tons and tons of fruit on it. Bird's nest up there. So crazy. It just keeps on going and going and going and going. So also highly vigorous. Nothing happened to it. Highly encourage anybody to get any clementine really in general, but they don't grow super tall, but tall enough. And then as long as you have the support, I think they should be fine. Now, if you had more so of like a compact area where you didn't have a lot of time to tend to it, such as like pruning it back or anything like that, this is the Page Mandarin. It does very, very good. Also very vigorous. Now, not going up, but just kind of spreading. It's got tons and tons of fruit on it, probably 50 to 75 fruit everywhere throughout the tree. So another good one. Now, it's sad to say this, and I didn't want to do this, but the king of all kings has fallen. And I cannot believe that this happened, but it happened. So we had probably 250 fruit on this sucker right here. I thought it would be able to take it, but maybe it was just too much. I'm not sure. But man, it got knocked back so bad. I honestly thought it was gonna die. And so I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And I was like, man, I don't even know where you could buy another one of these trees. Hey, I actually ended up finding out where I could buy one. I bought one just in case from Brazil Citrus. They're carrying it again. They don't do any shipping, but I found it at a nursery in Austin. And so we have another one just in case, but it's coming back. It even has a couple fruit on it. I'm actually thinking about taking off the fruit, even though it's one of my best producing honey mandarins. But I do not want to give this guy any trouble. So maybe 100 fruit or 150 is fine. Maybe 250 is a little too much for a little tree, because they're only 2.5 years old. So that's also something to kind of think about. If you have a young tree, don't push it too hard. And I think I pushed this one too hard compared to these other guys. These all have maybe 100 fruit on them, maybe 150 fruit. So maybe a little too much. Maybe once it gets to 5 years old or 7 years old, that's fine. 300 fruit, 250 fruit, but not on 2.5 years old. That's too much. It's almost like getting your baby to go do a bunch of farm work and he tires out in the middle of the day. Like, you can't be pushing them that hard. Now, my kids can work hard, but not in the middle of the day. It's way too hard. Now, the weakest of the week, the limes. Some of my favorite fruit in the whole entire world are limes. I just love them on my tacos. I love them with my beer. I love them all the time. But they don't love me as much as I love them, unfortunately. So this guy basically died back all the way to the stump right here. And then it just came back extremely vigorous. But kind of like with what I've been saying in all my videos, you want to go ahead and get that stump as big as you can. So when we do have that bad winter, such as the 9-degree temperature, wind chill of 0, it's able to come back. So it came back, and I'm sure by the end of this year it'll start producing flowers and we'll get some fruit off of it. This guy was interesting. With the negative temperatures, it got on, with the 9-degree temperature, it only got hit just a little bit. And I mean just a little bit. So this is a Persian, this is a Persian. And look at the difference here and here. Like quadruple the size, if not even bigger than that, which is kind of interesting. And it kept its fruit too as well, and fruiting too, and doing very well. So I don't know what the deal is. I know both of them are from Becknails. I don't think the rootstocks are any different, but yeah, this one barely got hit and just keeps on producing flowers, limes, all sorts of stuff. And this sucker is loaded, and it tends to stay loaded throughout the year. So we'll go ahead and continue to watch that. I think actually what I'm going to do, and most people don't like to hear this, but I'm actually thinking about taking out this tree right here, because this tends to be the coldest part of the high tunnel, which is at the corner, and basically taking it out and putting in a more so cold hardy clementine, maybe a honey mandarin, or maybe another, again, clementine. But that's kind of it for right now. We are at June 27th, 2023. It'll be 105 today. Usually in a tunnel without shade cloth, it's about 15 to 20 degrees hotter. So you could think of that being, let's see, 120 to 130 would be the temperature usually. With the shade, it makes it more doable to be in here. But yeah, if you guys like this, definitely, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, even like this video, I'll try to go ahead and produce more videos throughout the year. And I would love to not only go ahead and make another video in November or December at the 3-year mark, but also hopefully try some of this fruit for you, and we'll make maybe some individual videos to where you guys could see what this fruit tastes like, how it produces, how easy is it to peel, a little bit of everything. So highly encourage you if you guys tend to like this. Also, I do have an Instagram. It's Little Bear Farm, and it's spelled Little, and then bear spelled Bexar, and then farm Farm. Now it's got a little bit of everything. It's got the vegetable side, it's got the fruit side, it's got the citrus side, it's got the fig side, it's got a little bit of everything. So definitely highly encourage you to watch it. It's a lot of fun making these videos. Always highly encourage people to also try doing this. Like, this is a prime time example of the Meyer lemons and the clementines just rocking and rolling with 9 degrees outside. It's so crazy, and nothing even touched it. So I mean, if it can happen in here, you can always build just a small little greenhouse yourself, or a couple trees, and put them next to your house and get them going. The Satsumas, nothing happened to them. Overall, really, really good. So so yeah, definitely, if you guys have the ability to do it, do it. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave them below. I'd love to answer them and love to get back to you guys. Or if you have any comments or anything else like that, we appreciate it. And thanks for watching the whole thing. We'll see you in December of 2023. Thanks. Bye.